midday sun scorched the African savanna, baking the dry earth beneath its relentless heat. A lone elephant, massive yet weakened, stumbled toward a watering hole, its cracked skin covered in dust. The air hummed with an eerie vibration, an unnatural sound that sent ripples through the tall grass. A shadow moved, not from the sky, but from within the foliage. Then they struck. A black cloud of wild bees erupted from the underbrush, their furious buzzing turning into a deafening roar. The elephant trumpeted in agony, swinging its trunk wildly, trying to fend them off. But the swarm was relentless, stinging the vulnerable patches around its eyes, ears, and trunk. The great beast bellowed again, collapsing onto its knees. Miles away, a ragged figure walked the edges of a wealthy safari camp. His clothes were torn, his skin darkened by the sun and hardship. To the well-fed tourists and their guides, he was invisible, just another homeless drifter scavenging for scraps. They mocked him, laughing at the idea that he belonged anywhere near their world of luxury and adventure. But they didn't know his past, and they certainly didn't know his secrets. As the guys prepared for the evening safari, a sudden call crackled over their radios. "Elephant down. Wild bee swarm. We need backup." The tourists gasped, some reaching for their cameras, others murmuring about the dangers of the wild. The drifter, however, froze. He turned, eyes locking onto the horizon. For the first time, his movements betrayed purpose, a sharpness hidden beneath the layers of neglect. Without a word, he strode toward the radio operator, his voice calm yet commanding. "Tell them to stay back," he said. The guide scoffed. "And who are you to give orders?" The drifter met his gaze, unshaken. "The only one who can save that elephant." Laughter erupted. The tourists watched with amused curiosity as one of the younger guides stepped forward, arms crossed. "You? What? You gonna talk the bees down?" But the drifter was already moving, heading toward the distant cries of the suffering elephant. Something about him unsettled the onlookers. His stride carried certainty, his presence an unspoken authority. The murmurs grew, whispers of speculation weaving through the air. Who was he? Why did he walk like a man with everything to lose and everything to gain? As he approached the stricken elephant, the scene was worse than he expected. The creature's massive form trembled, its skin swollen with stings. The bees still swarmed, an angry force of nature unwilling to relent. But the drifter knew something the others did not. He knelt, pressing his hands into the earth. The tourists who had followed at a safe distance watched in silence. The same man they had mocked now knelt before a raging force of nature as if he could command it. Then, something changed. A deep vibration, a sound not unlike the bee's own hum, resonated from the drifter's chest. A frequency just beneath hearing, something primal and ancient. The bees hesitated. Their chaotic dance wavered. The elephant's breathing steadied. And then, as if guided by an unseen force, the swarm began to break apart. The buzzing softened, the black mass dispersing into the sky like a dissipating storm. The crowd stood frozen, their disbelieving eyes locked onto the drifter. The elephant let out a deep, relieved sigh. A guide finally found his voice. How did you?" The drifter didn't answer. Instead, he turned, his gaze scanning the faces of those who had doubted him. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips, not of pride, but of knowing. And then, without another word, he walked away. That night, around the campfire, the conversations buzzed louder than the bees had. Theories ran wild. Was he a shaman? A lost prince? A ghost of the savannah? Then, one of the older guys, a man who had spent decades on the land, spoke up. "There's an old story," he said, staring into the flames, "of a man who once controlled the wild. A man who lost everything, but held onto secrets greater than gold." Silence fell over the camp. And somewhere, in the darkness beyond the fire's glow, the drifter smiled.